Howdy, howdy, fellas. Got a match in the Azuma on Mountain Range today. This is World of Warships Legends. YouTube, please put that instead of some other random game. I don't even know how to change it. I'm sure there's a way. I'll figure it out or not eventually. Yeah, Azuma, here's my build. ARP Nachi, I really enjoy this commander on Azuma. You can see I've got Einstein and Makawa. That's kind of built for my Nachi the ARP Nachi ship. Azuma, I probably doesn't need Einstein. I'd probably go with Scott if I had it specifically for Azuma. But it's good enough, you know. I think Scott would rein in the shells just a touch more. So yeah, you could run Makawa or Yamamoto on Azuma. I think Yamamoto, you know, it's tough. One of the things that I think differentiates Azuma from some other ships of this size is the speed and concealment. And so running Makawa really leans into that. But then you've got the great guns, so running Azuma with Yamamoto, who would kind of get you better gun performance. I think it may just depend on what you're looking for. Yamamoto probably is better overall for the ship. But if you're looking for something a little more unique and interesting and spicy, Makawa might be, you know, play to the facets of this ship that are a little more unique. There are plenty of ships with big guns, but not that many that have the speed and stealth that Azuma does at its size. ARP Nachi kind of lets you do both. Keep Makawa on as an inspiration. And yeah, you get better gun performance. I really have been enjoying these hybrid commanders. I have in the past, and then I've been playing them a lot recently. And they're just fun, you know, they get to keep the accuracy of the guns, but you get the fast turret traverse from Ingenious and the mobility from full speed ahead in the second row. It's probably not the best way to play most ships I've got it on, but I've just been really enjoying it. It's kind of like the best of all worlds. I get a ship that can move around in ways that are just fun, and then the guns still behave, and you don't get those troll salvos that can be super frustrating. So anyway, that's my build. Nachi has that unique skill that kind of improves all around on the AP. But one of the things that you definitely have to be aware of in the Azuma is it does have good HE. You know, it's not like Conqueror HE in Tier 7 or anything like that, but it is quite good. And I remember when I started Azuma, one of the things that I had a couple of matches before I kind of figured out what to do with it. And one of the pieces of advice I got is, like, you know, hover around the outskirts of the fight, soften the targets with HE, and then look to close and use AP. And I think that's great advice, and that really helped me kind of dial in what works on the ship and what's fun. You do want to be using both HE and AP on the ship. The AP is absolutely brutal when you can get it to cooperate. I don't know. Part of the reason I'm playing this is I saw someone on Reddit ask about getting 3,500 XP matches for the Renown, specifically mentioned Azuma and Pyotr Bagration. I haven't played the Azuma in months. I have enjoyed it in the past, but I think just with other ships and, you know, game meta, whatever, I just haven't been playing the Azuma a lot recently. It has, honestly, it might be half a year since I played it last. It's been a while. I think it may have been during right when the carrier update happened was the last time I played the Azuma. But it is a fun ship. It's got those big guns. They're 310 millimeter, so, you know, more or less 12-inch guns. Reasonably accurate here. Yeah, and this always happens in ships where you've got this kind of HE and AP are both useful. I wish I had AP right there. I probably could have just taken the madness out. Yeah, a decent salvo from the HE, and if we can keep him burning, that might keep him visible and might, you know, maybe he's, no, he was able to damage control party it, but he's going down anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I am hanging back. You saw me check the team several times in the beginning. One of the things you have to be careful about in Azuma is it does have, you know, the armor. Azuma has decent armor. It's got 27mm plating on most of its surface, so it can bounce 15-inch shells, but, oh, and it has a decent, you know, kind of armor profile when you're angled correctly or appropriately or reasonably, depending on the positioning, but it has a huge citadel. This is something that I've believe I've talked about before, maybe in the Constellation video, and I've seen it a few times, is, you know, sometimes people say, yeah, but don't go broadside, and everybody's like, not everybody, but some people respond to that, well, shouldn't that be the advice in every ship? And yes, it should, it is, that's a general rule of thumb, you know, I'd say 95% of the time, you just shouldn't be broadside if you can help it. But there are absolutely some ships that's, like, way more important for. Azuma is one of them. It's quite tanky if you don't go broadside, but it has a huge exposed citadel, and the belt is not thick enough to shatter, you know, most ships that you would need to be considering anyway. Battleships, even some of the heavier cruiser shells, can go right through that, and like you can really, really hurt the Azuma if it is broadside. It's big, it's stealthy and fast, but it is not small, and that citadel is, yeah, don't get shot in the citadel. One thing that's nice about the Azuma is the heals are quite good. Here, I'm just looking at the timing of the match, kind of what ships we have left. I've got 4 heals left. I'm not going to get through them anyway. I don't think that was a full value heal, but I might as well get some value out of it while I'm being pelted and just keep my health up. So, you can see our team has collapsed to A. I haven't been doing a ton of talking about this specific match, but I have been, like, I've been in the same spot most of the match. I'm trying to keep an angle over here, stay on this side, keep my nose generally pointed in. I'm kind of moving back and forth, harassing, distracting the ships in this C cap. And we haven't really impacted much of the rest of the map. We've got 3 cruisers over here. Our battleship kind of went in aggressively, and so we didn't really have anything to tank. What I was hoping to do is kind of move up around the side and shoot ships on the side. That's one of the things that the Azuma loves to do. Yeah, finally Citadel, but it was low. I don't know if he's got perks on, or if, you know, I don't know. That was weird. 7,000 damage. I think just under 9,000 is what my shell should be doing, so whatever. But anyway, I would have loved to have gone up the side, use my speed, get in a flanking position, and shoot ships in the side, but that's just not how the match developed. You know, that's another key aspect of this game. Is it's great to have a game plan, but just like in real life, you know, you can have your plan, but you have to modify it based on what actually happens, not what you wish would happen. So I wish that our battleship hadn't gone in to die. It did die. I'm not remembering a different game. Yeah, it was like a... Hold on. I gotta check. Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, yeah, sorry. I had to scroll back through the video for a second. Yeah, like, we had an Iowa that came up in C and died. I was like, man, I have played too many games today. So anyway, I would have liked him to stay alive a little bit further back. And again, you know, I've talked about this before. Battleships don't need to be at the back of the map, but just YOLOing into the cap and getting torpedoed or, you know, death struck, whatever, like, that's not that helpful either. So here, I've kind of played it safe, only used 1 heal. I'm relatively healthy. We've done almost 100,000 damage. It's not the most spectacular, but this is the strength of the Azuma. It's this kind of, like, you definitely need some time to get your damage out. You can do this. Your reload's going to be about 20 seconds, regardless of your build. I mean, you can lean in on the reload a little bit and probably get it. I don't know, 18, 19 seconds is like on the outside. Maybe if you do refill station and really stack up reload buffs, but it's going to be about 20 seconds. And so in these, when there's still a lot of ships on the map, one of the things you want to be doing is setting those fires, letting them burn, and using your concealment and speed to keep enemy ships distracted, but not take a ton of damage for no reason. Again, you are tanky enough, but like in this match, we had 2 ships, the Madness, and I believe it's an Amagi with 16-inch guns that can overmatch our nose. And the Azuma, you know, you don't want to be taking too many of those in the nose. Decent health pool, great heals. They heal a fair amount. You get 1 extra 1 just by default, and then they also have a really fast reload, which is an underrated feature of heals, because sometimes you get stuck on their own cooldown, like the British super heals. That's one of their drawbacks, is they're generally super long cooldown, so you have to wait for them. Here, this Harlem, I will say, at the end of the match, I've talked about this before too. This is one of those moments where I like kind of didn't really feel like this guy was doing that much in the heat of the match. But then when we see the score at the end, like, he definitely was. A lot of it may have come in this, you know, final battle, so to speak. But he definitely didn't do nothing. And so it's important to remember that, you know, he sometimes your teammates are doing stuff even if it's not obvious to you in the moment, because you're seeing your perspective, you're not necessarily always seeing theirs. I wish he was like on the other side of that little island in B, so that we could play off of each other, so that we could force the ships to angle to one of us. You know, I'm up here, the destroyer's up here. I hit 2 shells on the island there. I didn't quite get them off in time, but where is it? Yeah, blind fire at the it's a Belfast 43. I'm like, yeah, I got it. It's always fun. But anyway, I wish the Harlem was south of that island so that we could just get a little separation. We're all coming in here. I would like him to be over there, but it's fine.
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
Yeah, honestly, if I had known he was going to come this way, I would have gone the other way, and maybe we could get some different shots, but at the end of the day, we actually have a decent handle on this match once the Amagi goes down. Basically, once we saw the Amagi was here in low health, as long as we don't get all death struck by the rest of these ships, we're in a decent position. What they have left is a little scary, but not in this scenario. The Pajarski's too close to us, and we're nose in. The Belfast 43 is great at taking out destroyers, but he's kind of stuck in broadside on this island. If I were him, you know, I'm not 100% sure what I would do in this instance, but just being with his nose pointed towards the island, he's in a bad spot there. There you go. That's the shot I was waiting for all match. That's what I would have loved to have done going up the side of C. That's what the Azuma is great at, is shooting kind of those mid-range broadside cruisers. It just tears them up, and it's really good at it. You see I've got the the hand assist ribbon. They really went with the they had to know, right? They had to know that the assist and the like all of that. They knew what they were doing, right? Like I hope they did. Anyway, Shikaku's just sending it. He knows he's done. We're going to finish him off with, honestly, a pretty decent health total. You can see it just kind of crept up. This wasn't like a super burst match where it's like, I'm just doing tons and tons of damage all at once to everything everywhere. It just, over the course of the match, stay alive, stay in position, keep the guns going, set the fires, and you work your way up. And then, yeah, so we got a decent credit score, pretty decent damage. You see we actually hit over the 3,500 XP mark, and that's what you got to do, a little bit of everything.